Hello and welcome to the Besotted Geek, Tears of a Geek, and today I am tiering Fire Emblem Awakening characters. These are your main playable characters, the starting characters, and then also some paralog characters. I don't have some of the villains and others that you get from paralog 18 and on, mainly because I've never played them, honestly. I've played this game for over, God, probably 400 hours of playthrough, and I just never got those characters before. I don't know if they're DLC or not, but these are the ones that I know. So these are the ones I'm going to discuss. I kind of know them from story play, the characters that aren't listed here, but you can play. But I just didn't think it would be fair to include them since I don't really have any gameplay experience with them. So my ranking system is based on weapon rankings from some Fire Emblem game. I just looked them up. I just wanted like a tie-in ranking system, and I wanted more than 4. Usually with the characters, it's what, C, B, A, and S. But I looked for something more. And this is some sort of legitimate Fire Emblem thing. I think it's weapon rankings. A, B plus B, C plus C, D, and E. So that's what I'm going with. I have them in an order of where they roughly would appear in the game. So that's what I'm going with. And I am going to start with your unit. I probably should have a sound effect for that. There we go. These are the characters you begin with. This is your character, your playable character. I believe the generic term is Robin, but I never use those whenever I create my own character in these games. I always give them something like Stork, something fun like that. So basically, this is your character in the game. I think it's a strong character. They seem like a nice person. I like the abilities that you have. They're probably not the strongest characters, but I have to put them pretty high because that's what you're playing, and they're in every damn near scenario. You don't have to take them for certain things, such as side missions where you're just fighting the bad guys just to get experience, but any main story, they're going to be in there. I think them and Crom, the next guy, pretty much are in every chapter. So yeah, I'm going to put them pretty high. I don't think they're top tier just because they're a little generic, I guess. And other people I just love, and I'm not in love with myself. So I'm going to give them I'm going to put them at B plus though, to start out. Yeah. Okay. Next we got Crom. He's the leader. He's the main man, the prince. He's powerful. I think he's a cool guy. I really like him. I do. It all runs through him as well as you. So he's very important to the game. And he's probably one of the stronger characters in the game too. So I'm actually going to put him A level. And I may switch these up as we go. So don't yell at me yet. They may move around. Next, we got Crom's little sister, Lissa. She's a healer. She's trying to prove herself throughout most of the game, that she's not just a little girl, a little princess. She's tough. She's okay. I could give or take Lissa, really. If I had to sway one side or the other, I'd probably favor her. But we've got this beautiful 7 tiers, so I'm just going to stick her right in the middle. I don't have to pick one side or the other of average. I might slay her. I might put her lower, but I don't know. Frederick next. He is the knight, the bodyguard basically of Crom and Lissa, and he is, when you start the game, by far the strongest character in your party. So he's very important, but as the game progresses, he doesn't progress as much. So he kind of becomes a liability a lot of the times. I usually don't end up using him later in the game because it's weird. He's weaker in later levels. So he's also a stick in the mud, but that's kind of what makes him fun. And I do like his interactions with Crom and Lissa. So I do like Frederick. And like I said early on, you really need him. So I'm gonna put him at the B level for now. Then we got Sully, and yeah, most of the lady. Well, as you're playing as a dude, you can pick a dude or a lady for your avatar, and then that opens up marriage opportunities. Also, all the characters can marry each other. Some of them are restricted, but a lot of them can marry each other and your character. I have married Sully in the past, so I'm not totally against Sully. She's tough. She's badass. But she's kind of one trick too, as far as that's her personality. She's I think she's she's a horse rider, I believe, a cavalier, if you will. So yeah, she loves her horse. I think she's kind of blah though. I'm gonna put her probably at C. I'm not a huge Sully fan. We got Varian. The Varian is an archer, and he is pretty much the comic relief early on in the game. And he's a dandy, but also a ladies' man, and that plays so well with so many of the characters that I think his interactions are some of the best. And archers are pretty good in the game. You can attack from a bit of a distance. They're weak if they get attacked side by side, but if you keep them in the background, they can do a lot. And I just think he's funny. So, man, I'm not gonna put him too crazy high, but I think he's level B, like with Frederick. I think Frederick and him have some good interactions too. So, yeah, I'll put him up with B. We got Stahl, and Stahl is pretty much your everyman, your journeyman. He is another cavalier, so he pairs well with Sully. He's very generic. He's very average. He's good at everything, but not great. He's not bad at anything, but he doesn't excel at everything either. So and I think that's his character trait, which is kind of a dull one. He's very nice, but kind of boring. Hey, yeah, Stahl, you're boring. So he's pretty forgettable. I would actually put him on level with Sully, but I might put him lower. I think I put him at D. He's just boring. I don't hate him. And you would think that maybe I do by putting him in that low. I don't. But there's nothing outstanding about him. And like I said, he's pretty average, so maybe he should be at C+, the middle, but I don't know, he just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit as far as like so much of this game is to me is the personalities of the characters, and he just doesn't have a standout personality because a lot of them have the same skill sets, so that's not really that interesting, especially early on. So yeah, I don't dislike him though. I might have to move him up to Sully's spot. Yeah, I'll put him at C. You talked me into it, Stork. All right, then we get another comedic character here. Vake, Teach, as he calls himself. He talks about himself in the third person. He thinks he's really great. He's not. He's a fighter class to begin with. He's pretty funny and adds a lot of humor to the game early on. Not in the Varian way, just he's a blowhard and also kind of clumsy at the same time, forgetful. So he's a fun character, but I don't find him to be a great fighter, which is funny because that's his class. Once he powers up, he's pretty good, but out of the gate, axe wielders aren't that great, I feel. So I'd probably stick him based on personality alone. He has to be kind of high, but based on ability and things like that, I don't think he's top. So I think I'm just going to put him in the middle with Lissa. And honestly, I find these two pairing up a lot and having a kid together when I play. So I pretty much just let it happen naturally. I know a lot of people play in a way that you can actually kind of make two people have a kid, basically. If they're paired up, you can pair people up. You can fight next to a person, and their levels will go up together. So you can do it. You can kind of like force the issue if you want specific characters to have a kid, which the traits are passed on to the kid, so that it makes the kid even potentially better. If you give them certain traits from each parent. So I get why people do it. I usually don't bother. I just, somebody's going to marry somebody eventually. So whatever. Sometimes with my own character, I do it because it unlocks a little more deep story just because it's your main character with with whoever you pair up with. So I do like to play around with that and choose different ones that I haven't seen before. But I do have my favorites still. So yeah, we'll get there. I haven't come across one of my faves yet. You'll see where I put her. Next up, we have Muriel, the good witch, I would call her. Because there are darker ones. There's like dark mages, and then there's kind of like, what's her class? She's a mage. And then there are dark mages, I think, is what they are referred to. So yeah, she's just a regular mage, uses tomes to attack, which is also handy because they can attack from a distance and from right next to an enemy. So very handy to have on your team. She's a huge nerd and bookworm and pretty damn boring, and I really don't like her that much. She's borderline bottom to me. Yeah, I just don't like Muriel. And she's very weak at the beginning, too. A lot of mages are. They just don't have good hit points. So if they get attacked with a physical attack, they get decimated usually. Sometimes they're pretty good against magical attacks, but physical attacks, usually not great. She usually dies a lot for me, Muriel. Yeah, I'm going to throw her at the bottom. I just don't like her. She's too smart. Maybe that's why. Next, Sumiya. She's a sweetheart. I have married Sumiya in a past game before. She's in love with Crom. A lot of the ladies are in love with Crom. Who can blame them, right? Look at that guy. He's dreamy. But she's a Pegasus rider. Not good against arrows, but travels long distances, not hindered by obstacles. So that's good for that sort of thing. You can put somebody, she can like carry another player that can't travel that well, so that's handy. She's clumsy. That's her main trait. She's always falling over things. She's very awkward, endearingly so. I would probably put her pretty high just because I think she's a gem, a sweetheart. So yeah, I'm going to put her at probably at B with these two chaps. She's pretty cool. I like her. And so does Crom. Next up, we got Kellum. He's in this huge suit of armor, which is hilarious. He's a knight. And his trait is nobody can see him. He's kind of like a wallflower. And it's played to comedic effect. It's very frustrating. Sometimes he'll say, hey, and people will get scared because they think a ghost has talked, but it's just Kellum. And what's hilarious is that he's freaking in this huge suit of armor. So how can he be so hard to see? But so that actually plays well. I'm not going to lie. I think that's funny and fun. And he's a tank. Like Frederick's a horse. What is Frederick? He's a knight also, but I think he's a great knight. So he's already like the master class of being a knight. One of them. Kellum starts out as a knight. It's basically your tank character in a D&D type game. He can take a lot of damage. He can block a lot of stuff. Like physical stuff doesn't affect him barely at all. Magic, on the other hand, will fuck him up. So you have to be careful about that. But just the character itself is really fun. But by the same token, it's a one-trick pony. So I would put him above a stall character, but he's not as fun as Varian. So I'm going to stick him at C with these two. C+, I should say. Then we got Donald. I'm Donald. This is a guy you get in a side story, and he's really kind of hard to get. He is very, very weak when you first recruit him, and you have to make sure that he defeats at least one enemy on the board that you recruit him in and doesn't die. And that's hard to do because he is so weak. Look at him. He's wearing a fucking pot as a helmet. He's a farmer. He's a little kid. He sucks, but he goes beyond. Usually they max out at level 20. Donald goes all the way up to level 30, and if you can wait that long before you reclass him, he can get very powerful. So his whole shtick is, I'm just a country bumpkin. He's kind of forgettable. He's hard to recruit. It takes a while before you can do anything with him. He dies a lot in the meantime. I'm not in love with him. He's got a good fighting spirit about him, but I'm probably going to throw him at D just because of all the things, all the negatives outweigh the positives. There's not a lot of positives with Donald other than eventually, if you have patience, you can get him to be pretty good. Let's move on to Long Q. And this guy is a sword master, a myrmidon, if you will, to quote the game. His character trait, he is terrified of women. He is very shy around the ladies. That's played to laughs. He's very good with swords, and when you reclass him or master class him, he gets really good really quickly. So he's a great fighter, and he also has that quirky, funny, in a lot of situations, personality. So I think he's kind of like a Frederick. Starts out pretty strong, but unlike Frederick, he gets stronger and stronger, and also has like some fun interactions like a Varian. So I think I will put him at that level. He's pretty damn good. Then we get Little Rickon, and he is a mage. Look at that big hat. He's like Coral, wearing Rick's huge officer's hat. He is trying to prove himself. He's a little kid. He feels like, hey, I'm just as good as you guys. I should be on the team. Don't leave me out of it. Don't try and protect me. I can handle myself. So I like that aspect of his personality. Mages, I always love mages. They're good with the distance and the close-up fighting. And I like Rickon. He's just, you kind of root for him, the little guy. And so I think I'll put him, I'll just stick him middle of the road, I think. He's not as good as these guys, both in ability and character traits, but he's definitely on this level, at least. We've got Maribel. She's the rich girl, the rich bitch, stuck up, but the tough exterior of that belies a soft interior where she's very much cares for the rest of the team. She's a healer. A troubadour is her official for starting class, but basically heals. And so I do like her. She can be a bit much at times, but I think that as you progress with the conversations between the characters, it reveals how actually nice she is underneath it all. So she's kind of like tough to like at first, but the more you play, the more you like her. And she's not unpowerful, but healers, you know, they can still fight, but they're not great at it. So, especially for a long time before you reclass them. So I would probably put her. I don't know. She's really hard to like at first. The more I think about her, just look at her face. Um, oh, I'm between D and C here. Mm. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with Donald because she's a little stuck up. Next up, we got Panay. Panay is a Tagwell. Toggle. Basically, she can transform into a rabbit, a big rabbit that kicks ass, which is cool until you run out of the beast stone that lets her transform, and you have to buy more. She can't use any other weapons, really. You can class her into something different, but then she can't do she has to adhere to that class, and it's a waste of having a tag wall on your team, which you want. So I usually just second seal her, which is basically start over at level 1 and keep building stats up. You don't lose the stats that you've built, but it doesn't make you more powerful either. I don't think you can master seal a tag wall to a better tag wall, but it's been a while since I played this game. So if you can, I would definitely do that, but then start second sealing again. You can't just switch to another class and have them still be able to do their rabbity stuff. And you want that. It's a waste to not let them do that. So she's pretty limited. She's also always on about how humans suck and they destroyed her Warren, which of course is terrible, but that's all she really talks about, and it gets old. She's pretty boring. The fact that she's a tagwell is cool and she kicks ass, but the character trait is so negative to me that she's pretty low. I'm tempted not to just put her on E, but yeah, I think I am. I don't like her that much, honestly. The other than her, only thing that is good about her is turning into the rabbit. Next up, we got Gaius. Gaius is cool. He's a thief. He can pick locks. His character trait, he loves candy. He'll do anything for candy, and that's fun. So, I mean, he loves sugar. That's sometimes they actually have like dialogue that is audible. All the characters, somebody voice acts them, some more than others, but everybody gets a few lines. And sugar, I can hear it right in my head. He'd rather have that than gold. So he's a fun character. He's a thief, which makes him really handy because he's the first one that you get. And he's not a bad little fighter either. So I really like him. I think he's got the personality. I think he's got the skills. I'm going to put him pretty high. Man, I'm going to put him up at B+. He's one of my faves. Just great dialogue and great abilities. Next, we have Cordelia, Pegasus Knight. So much like Sumia, same class she starts with. She is the youngest Pegasus Knight. She's out to prove herself. She is very worried about not doing that, about letting people down. I like her. I like her look. She's a hard worker. I think she's pretty cool. And again, Pegasus Knights are pretty valuable. So I'm going to put her high. I do really like her. I think she's better than Sumia, so I have to put her above, and I'll put her up here. And I think these two end up pairing up a lot when I play Gaius and Cordelia, when I don't go after her. But yeah, it usually, as you see, I have this in the order that they kind of come into the story. So usually they just automatically, since I let them play out in that fashion, those are the ones that pair up usually because they're both coming at the same time. Nobody else has played along with them. They're starting to play together more, and then they bond, and one thing leads to another, and next thing you know, and you've got a kid. So next up, we got Gregor. Gregor is basically Arnold Schwarzenegger, which makes him hilarious. He's always complaining about being old. He doesn't think he's old sometimes. Sometimes someone else that's about to come up calls him old, calls him grandpa, and he takes offense to that. But he is basically a mercenary. And actually, that is his class, mercenary. But he's got that Arnold Schwarzenegger voice and speech patterns and way of talking, and he's a fun guy. I like Gregor. He's pretty tough. He's not one of my favorites, but I like so many of these characters. This is really difficult for me because I don't like putting a lot of them low, but I can't have everybody high either. I think he's probably a level C character, so that's where I'll stick him. I love the voice work. I think the character is more than the abilities. He's not bad, but it's all about how he speaks to me and just the basically Arnold ripoff that really makes him. Other than that, I can't really think of anything that's super great about him. So I can't put him too high. And then we get Noe. Noe is Dragonkin. She's a Manakete, as they say. She looks like a little girl. She's like 1,000 years old. So, but she talks like a little girl too, and she turns into a dragon, and dragons are pretty kick-ass and strong, and one of my favorite, I say this quote sometimes just around the house of hers. Of course, I won't be able to think of it now, but I do quote her still to this day. Oh yeah, rage. Like whenever she does a special attack, she's like, rage. I do that whenever I like stub a toe or get mad at something ridiculous. I'll spout that out. So I really, really like Noe. She's fun. She's comes in the same board as Gregor. They usually pair up for me, which is really weird because he's old and looks like a little girl, but again, she's like 1,000 years old. But she does call him grandpa and stuff, so it's a little sus. But she's so fun. She is like a little girl. She likes to play, very carefree. That's just her attitude and her character. But then she's reminded that all the people she knew are gone, and she was hunted for being one of the last Manaketes around. So she has kind of like that tragic background too, that goes against her carefree nature, but somehow she's always smiling and stuff. So she's really cool, fun character. And tough, like dragons are really good to have on your team. Again, you only have a dragon stone you can use up to a certain point before you have to buy another one. You can't reclass her or else she sucks because then she can't be a dragon anymore. So there's those hindrances, same as Panay, but a much more fun character. So I'm putting her really high. I'm going to put her at A. I think she's great. She's definitely one of my faves. Then we get Libra, the war monk, and it's a sus character trait nowadays. It was sus then, I'm sure, but he gets mistaken for a lady all the time. That's his thing. Everybody thinks he's so pretty. I'm happy to save you, ma'am. Ma'am? No, it's a dude. He's a war monk. He's actually pretty strong. War monks are good because they are already good fighters and they're healers. So Libra is good. His storyline is a little outdated, let's say. So that's not his fault, but I'm going to put him a little bit lower. Like he's better. He's a better cleric than like Alyssa or a Maribel, let's say. But and he's not these ones I just don't like. I don't dislike Libra. I just don't think that his story is it's a bit dated, let's say. So I'm gonna put him. Yeah, I'll put him at D. I think those two go well together. Actually, well, he comes in the same storyline as the next character, and sometimes they do end up together. Although I usually go after her myself, so sometimes he's just on his own. So next up, one of my favorites for sure. It's Tharja, and she is a dark mage. And her character trait is she's obsessed with your character, like in a weird, creepy, stalkery way, which I get it, sus, but it's so fun also. It just works. And she is like goth girl to the extreme, and she's always up to no good. You actually have to, when you recruit her, you have to make sure that either, and this happens with recruitment all the time until you get to the kids, either your character or Crom has to talk to the person to recruit them. Now, there are certain characters that are fighting for the enemy. I can't remember, guys might be like this too, where you have to talk to them before either side attacks. So if one of my characters, of course you control all of your characters. It's a turn-based game, fighting game. If one of your characters attacks Tharja, she will not join you no matter what. If one of your characters is in range of Tharja and she attacks them just because that's what the enemy does, before you can talk to her, you can not recruit her. So you have to be very careful. So yeah, a lot of the times it's best to just have either your character Crom hitch a ride with a Pegasus Knight and fly right up to her and talk to her right away, because sometimes I have lost her before and not been able to recruit her, which sucks. I try and recruit everybody. That's part of the fun of the game, is getting all these characters and getting the interactions and things. But she's a gem, and she is very powerful too with the dark arts, this one. And all her interactions with all the characters are so fun because she's so dark, and some people try and be fun with her and she's not having it, and she's always talking about your main character, which really makes it cool because you're not always in the forefront with conversations, but most of her conversations, you'll get a name drop once in a while. And that makes her unique in that way too. And I love her. I think I've married her a couple times as I've played the game, just because she's so cool. So I'm putting her at definitely level A. She's one of the best. Then we get Anna. Anna is a fun Fire Emblem character because she's been around for a long time in a lot of the games. I don't know when her first appearance was and what game, but she's a merchant, a traveling merchant. In this game, she's got a family of other sisters that are all named Anna and look just like her. That's how they kind of explain why she's in so many games, I think. But she's very greedy. She likes making money, but she's a pretty handy, capable fighter too. And she's also like a thief. She can pick locks and things like that. So that makes her pretty good. Trickster is her official one, or starting class. And I like Anna. She's just spunky, and she has a good personality, and she does revolve around going for the cash. I get that. That's a bit much at times, but I can't help liking the character. I really do. So I'm going to put her pretty high. Not crazy high. I'm going to put her at B, I think. Then we get Olivia. Olivia is a dancer, and her ability lets you take another turn. Whoever she dances beside, they get to go again after they've expended one turn. Very handy. But what happens, she usually ends up in the back, and she starts out pretty weak, and it's hard for her to get experience fighting because her ability is helping other people, much like a healer. Even healers, though, most of them have a weapon also. I think Olivia might, but like a very basic sword probably. But when you help somebody, you typically help somebody that's further back that had already gone, and then they move up, and then she's left in the dust usually. That's how I usually end up playing her. So she doesn't level up well. She's pretty weak. She gets killed easily if you let somebody by and get close to her. And her character is basically very timid, shy. She's pretty sweet and nice. And the dance ability is handy. I can't take that away. Kind of a blah / generic character to me, though. I'm not going to put her too high. And like I said, weak. I don't know that I ever level her up, honestly, because you don't get much experience, if any, from what I remember, using the dance ability, which sucks. So it's hard to level her up, too, because you feel like if you use her to attack, you're wasting another character that could have went again with a better attack, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put her at like probably level. I'm going to put her at C just because I like her personality. We get Churchy, and she is Varian's maid, which that is fun. It gives him another person to bounce off of, and there's not too many. Like some of the quote unquote shepherds who are the first group of people you're working with. Who are the shepherds? I think like Crom, Sumia, Vake, Muriel, Stahl, Sully. They're the shepherds. They're the kind of like the people in the kingdom that you're in that look out like an army of 5, basically. And then as you play the game, you recruit these other people into your party. So they have interactions because they know each other and things like that. But it's kind of cool having Varian have somebody that knows his nonsense and is, worked for him and with him so closely. Sometimes they end up getting married when I play, just because they have a connection already and it just seems natural. Maybe I forced that one. I don't know. But yeah, she rides a wyvern, which is like a little dragon thing. So that's pretty cool. Another flying person that gives good with covering distances. And she's kind of dull, honestly. She's all about her wyvern. Minerva, I believe is the name of the wyvern. It's that and her connection to Varian that pretty much are her character traits, and that's kind of boring to me. As much as I like the Varian and her interactions with themselves, that kind of limits her. So I don't dislike Churchy. I think it's cool to have a wyvern rider, honestly, but she's pretty low to me. I think she's pretty dull. Do I want to put her at E or D? I think I'll stick her at D because I really don't dislike her. She's just kind of blah. Oh boy. Next we got Henry. Henry is another dark mage, and he is a kook, and he likes blood and death, and he's just a weirdo. He is like a psychopath in training, but that makes an interesting character too. So he's got a lot of fun dialogue based on that. He's pretty powerful. I don't know that he's kind of a one-trick pony with his, being obsessed with murder and death. So he's a little bit annoying too, honestly. I'm going to put him probably middle of the pack because he's kind of interesting in that way. He's different in that way. He's kind of like Tharja Light. Yeah, I think I will put him right in the middle. I don't hate Henry. I don't love Henry. He's got his own thing going. It's, like I said, it's different. And it's always handy having these dark mages. And he's another one. So, next up we're getting into the kids now. Spoilers. Lucina. She, throughout the first third half of the game, maybe, she is this dark figure from the future. Well, eventually, she is from the future, but she wears a mask. She's got the same sword as Crom, which is weird. And they duel at one point. The mask comes off. It's Lucina. It's his daughter from the future. Yeah. So in the future, they lose this war. All their kids are kind of coming back to fight, to continue the fight that they saw their parents slain in. So that kind of explains the paralogs where you get the kids. As soon as two people get married, a paralog will pop up, and you go and do it, and you recruit a kid, whoever got married, based on the woman in the marriage, I believe. Sometimes it's based on the man in other games. This one is based on the woman. So anytime, say, Lucina, or anytime anytime Lissa gets married, she'll always have the next character, Owain. Hair color is based on the father. That's all we get. So yeah, that's just how it's run, and it has to be that way, I think. For especially, this is a 3DS game, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's so like they pack a lot into it. But Lucina is Crom's daughter. One of the rare cases where she is always just Crom's daughter. Doesn't matter who Crom marries. Lucina is always the same hair color. It's Lucina. So she's great. She's very popular. She has transcended this game to go into other games such as Smash Brothers. I believe she's in the newest Fire Emblem game, which the name escapes me at the moment, but the one that me and Peacock played recently for Switch. Not Three Houses, the one after that. You know the one I'm talking about. Crom also one of the more popular ones, but he didn't make that game, I don't think. Lucina did. So yeah, she's big. She's very powerful. She's got great attacks because of the children get abilities from the parents, and they start out with such strong attacks that the children are sometimes better than the parents. If you haven't progressed the parents as far as you might have before they had a kid, they still get those abilities, and they start out with them. I guess they just start out stronger, maybe, is what I'm saying. But Lucina's great. She's definitely an A character, just popularity, and also I like her. She's just likable. She's noble, and yeah. Then we got Owain, and Owain is, like I said, Lucina's son. He's a kook. He is a nut job. He likes to talk about himself in the third person. He thinks he's the hero, the scion of the future that's going to be this hero. He gives his sword a name. He talks about how his hand can't be controlled. He's just over the top, and that makes him a fun character. He is a Myrmidon? So he's a good sword fighter, basically. And I kind of like him. And he gets called out on his BS a lot, and that's fun too, especially with the other kid. Like, basically, when you have a kid, you get interactions with the parents. Definitely the mother. The father is more generic because you never know, since they're all based on the mother, really. You don't know who's going to pair up with the mother. So the mother gets more of the good conversations where the father one is kind of a little bit generic, usually, from what I remember. But then you also get some good interactions with the other kids. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So a lot of the kids call him out on his BS, and that's kind of fun too. And he's a good fighter. Where do I put him? He's so quirky. I think I want to put him at like probably C+, right in the middle with his mom. That makes sense. Okay, then we got Inigo. He is the dancer's son, Olivia. He is, what's his deal? Is his name not Inigo? Yeah, he's a mercenary. Sorry. I can't remember the what that actually start as, so I kind of have another thing pulled up off screen. This is weird because some of these characters are used in a future game with a different name, but it's the same exact character face and build and everything. And I sometimes have trouble remembering what their personalities are. And he's one of them. I think he might be a singer. And he's kind of like his mom, shy about singing. But I think he might also be a bit of a ladies' man. Unless I'm thinking of the other version of him. So, yeah, I might be getting my wires crossed here. But I think that's what his characteristics are. He's kind of blah. I'm not in love with him. I'd probably put him pretty low. I'm going to put him at level D. If his singing made somebody else get another turn, I'd probably put him up with his mother because that's what her dancing does. But no, he doesn't really do that. So then we got Brady. Brady is a priest. Brady is Maribel's son. And he's way cooler than his mom. He's all like scarred up on his face, and he's pretty low in his dialogue. Like she's all hoity-toity and speaks proper whatever lish English or whatever this this fake world's best language is, and he just kind of grunts and not. They don't get bad curses, the bad words, but he curses, and she's always correcting him and things like that. And he's like, "Oh, mom." He's a priest, which also makes it funny. So I really like Brady. I think he's for the kids, he's different enough to stand out, and I like that personality that he has. I'm going to put him pretty high. I don't know how high, because the trouble with the kids is you get them so late in the game typically that you don't have as much time with them as you do with the main characters. So you get to know the main characters more because they have conversations with each other and you, and the kids are limited to mostly conversations with other kids, and you might not even have them unlocked yet. So it's hard to get to like them as easy, I feel. But I do like Brady. I'm going to put him... I'm either at a C+ or a B, honestly, with Brady. I think I'll put him at a B. He's pretty fun. Then we get Shell. Shell is Sully's daughter. She is a knight, and she's tough, and that's her personality, and it's very similar to Sully. And I think that's a bit of a detriment. She's really kind of generic after dealing with Sully so long. So I don't really like Shell that much. I don't think she has many redeeming qualities other than being tough and a knight, but I'm going to put her at the bottom because she's kind of throwaway to me. I don't really have anything to talk about her either. She's just Sully light, which Inigo is Olivia light, but I think he still has a bit of a personality. I don't think Shell does. Then we have Cynthia, and she's personality plus. She is Sumia's daughter, and she is very bubbly and happy and a little scattered like her mom, but not so similar, not clumsy scattered, just like flighty. and she can be annoying. I get that. I can see how people would be annoyed by Cynthia. I think it's kind of charming. I think she's kind of spunky. She's also a Pegasus Knight, like her mother, Sumia. So she's it's kind of similar, but I think that's the point. You want to have the kids be a little bit like the parent, right? So it kind of there's some synergy there. It's just when it's a total copy, it feels like a cop out. Bars. Let's put her. I'm gonna put her at level C. I think. I don't hate Cynthia. She can be a little grating, but I think she's kind of cute and just spunky. So I'm gonna put her there. And then we got Severa. Severa is Cordelia's daughter. She's a total bitch, but I like it. That's what I like about her. She is just nasty and mean, and she's always got this frown on her face. But then sometimes they'll be, and they do, they just do different like stills of the characters as they're doing conversations and stuff. But they do like change expressions slightly from still to still. Sometimes there'll be like a little smile on Cynthia, a little blush, and a little smile, and then you're like, oh, she's a gem. She's got the heart of gold underneath this exterior. So I really like that about her. It's she's mad at her mom. She blames her for dying and leaving her alone, but she's also out fighting to make sure that doesn't happen. So she's very noble. It's just that she has this chip on her shoulder. Also, she wants to prove herself to be as good as her mother, and her mother was always doing that with herself. She always wanted to be the best and just trained so much. And so I think Severa has that. She has that chip that she's trying to live up to that image of her mother, and that's hard to do for her. And that just makes her kind of mean and nasty at times, but I really see beneath it. I feel, and that she's just such a cool character. I love the character design too. She's just the look on her face, and you can tell that's definitely Cordelia's daughter. They do have that similar look. So I really like the character design and the attitude. I'm putting her at A. I think she's great. She's one of my faves. Then we got Jerome, who is Churchy's son. He is a wyvern rider as well. He wears a mask. He's Mr. Mysterious. He's kind of boring. I'm not a big Jerome fan. By the time I get Jerome, he's in one of the harder paralogs, I think. By the time I get him, I'm just like, I don't have much time with him. So maybe it's just a me thing. I haven't explored him enough, possibly. Maybe he's deeper, but it doesn't seem that way to me. He's riding his mother's wyvern, which is kind of cool because they're from the future. So he still has the same Minerva that Churchy's riding right now in the game's present. So that's kind of neat. 2 Minervas. But other than that, he's just blah. And yeah, more blah than his mother, and she's pretty blah too. I'm putting him at E. Not a big Jerome fan. Okay, then we get Morgan. This is your main character's kid. That's why there's 2. You either have a male Morgan or a female Morgan. I believe that's based on the opposite of your character's sex. So if you start your character as a man, you'll have girl Morgan, and if you start your character as a woman, you'll have boy Morgan. So I've never dealt with boy Morgan, but I really like girl Morgan. She's very tries to be like her parent, her father in my case. She's kind of forgetful kind of absent-minded from what I remember. Just she's pretty sweet and nice and wholesome. So I really do like her. I think that's one of my favorite kids is the one that they give your avatar, which is kind of cool because it would suck to be stuck with a shit kid as uh, your avatar's kid would be bad, and then that would just make you feel bad, I feel. So yeah, but again, you don't get a lot of time with Morgan, and it's not like she blows me away as far as personality. Or she does have good abilities though, and she has very similar abilities to your character. And I'm trying to remember now what your character's main attack is. Is this the one where you get the dragon arm? I can't remember because again, these games blend together, especially the ones on the DS. I don't know, but I think Morgan's pretty powerful for a kid too. So I'll put her at B, I think. I like that. Then we get Yarne. Yarne is Pane's son. He is also a Tagwal, which means he can transform into the big bunny. And he is a big coward. So he's got like a kind of fun character trait that nobody else has to this point. Especially his mother being so tough. It's kind of anti that. So I do like that. He's the last of his kind, and he wants to preserve his kind by saving his own ass. So that's kind of a fun thing. And he's got the Taggle power again. I don't mind him. I don't think he's great. It gets a bit old because he's one note with that whole thing. But I'm going to put him... I think I'll put him at C. Because he does have good power, too. That the whole... Any of the characters that can transform into another creature, they're usually pretty strong and can dole out a lot of punishment and take a lot, too. So that's a consideration. It's just... His mom's such a stick in the mud. That's why I have her so low. Speaking of stick in the mud, we got Laurent. This is Muriel's son. He's a nerd, just like his mom. He's basically carbon copy of his mom. I don't have much to say about him. I think he's boring as shit. I don't like his bookwormy personality. I don't really like anything about him. I don't even think he's that strong to start. So he's going right at E with Mummy. Mummy dearest. We got Noir. Noir is an archer, and she is Tharsh's daughter. So already she's, I'm already, you have to do something bad for me to not like you, Noir. Well, she's very timid and shy and stuff, but her mother cursed her. So sometimes she's got this stone that she wears around her neck, I think, and she'll go dark. Like Henry is like, oh shit, what's going on with Noir? Dark. And like the shadow, they'll cast a shadow over her face except for her eyes, and her eyes get big and mean looking, and she's like, all will suffer, I will bathe in your blood. Like, she gets dark, and it's fun. She's kind of one note that way, but she's such a fun character. I like her design. She looks so sweet and innocent, but then when that switch flips, it's like, holy shit. And the conversations she has with Tharja are pretty good too. So I like Noir a lot. She's not A level to me. She's one of those ones that I typically don't spend a lot of time with either. I think she belongs at B, honestly. I almost put her at B plus, but again, I don't have that much experience with her. So I wish, now that I'm talking about this and thinking about it, I kind of wish that they would do a follow-up game where you start with the kids. Maybe have them in the future, like Fire Emblem Awakenings 2, and you start with all these kids and have them build up and have a different adventure, because I really would like to see more of them. I guess you could play it and play it and play it. You could, and just unlock all the conversations. But by the time you're at this point in the game, it's almost time to beat the game, honestly. The way I play, and it just seems like the natural progression. So I kind of want more time naturally with these characters, and yeah, that's something I would love to see. Now that I think about it, like they could even just port Fire Emblem Awakenings and kind of just use the same stuff. I'd buy it in a heartbeat. So next we have Nah, which they get some kind of jokey stuff over that name, Nah, Nah, and I don't know. It's kind of like who's on first. She is Noe's daughter. She's another Manaketh, so she can turn into a dragon. Cool ability, handy ability. She's another stick in the mud, though. She's disapproves of her mother's carefree ways, which is why I like her mother. That's why I like Noe. She's fun. She's just like, oh, you should act more grown up. Like she's the mother, and you're not. You're a kid. So I guess she has her reasons for feeling that way. Like a lot of the kids, she felt like she was abandoned when her parents died in this war that's kind of being waged as you play. I don't like her though. I really don't. I don't think there's much to like about her. I'm sticking her at the bottom. See, when I first started this, I thought, man, it's going to be hard to put people in the bottom tier. But now I find this actually pretty easy. Okay, next we have Sayuri, Swordmaster. You kind of pick her up at the docks. That sounds bad, but it's not. She's she's immersed, kind of like she's an underground resistance fighter. That's the word I'm looking for. The resistance against this bad dude Walhart that's overtaking a continent. Warmonger. So she's pretty cool. I like Sayuri. We don't get a lot of time with Sayuri, I feel. I think I might have actually married Sayuri once. I think I might have married all these people once. I don't know. But she's pretty average to me. She plays a little bit in a couple chapters of the story. Her brother comes into play, so she's kind of important in that way. I don't dislike her. I don't love her. She's very middle of the road. She's capable. But would I go out of my way to put her somewhere like she's not as good as or as interesting as like a Henry or a Rickon or a Vake, that's for sure. I think she's at level C. This is where I'm putting like the borderline annoying / boring people that don't piss me off. I think that's what level C is all about. Next up, we got Lady Tiki, and she is another Manaketh, another dragon. You pick her up pretty late in the game, but she's pretty powerful. It's a very frustrating board where you pick her up. I remember that. So man, she's got that going against her. She kind of knows your character, or she knows one of the characters. I can't remember who. Oh, she thinks that one of the characters, I think she thinks Crom is another character from a previous game, and I think she is in a previous game. So that's kind of fun. I don't really know for sure, so I can't really put that as a deciding factor of where to put her. I like her. She's kind of like the sage of the group. She's old. She's been through wars before. She kind of knows what's going on. She's a little out of it at first just because she's been sleeping, I think was her story. By the same token, she just doesn't stand out too much personality wise. So you know what that means. I don't dislike her. I don't like her. She's blah. She's okay. That's a C. All right, then we got two more left, and these ones come in really late in the game. You get to know them throughout the game in different stories, different chapters, but they become playable late in the game. So that's kind of a detriment, I feel. Even like I said at the beginning of this, there are players that are characters that you can pick up via DLC or I think other ways. I don't believe I ever did, so I'm not even going to include them in this. I found a pre-made tier maker here that didn't, and that really inspired me to do it because I know them from the story, but I never played them. So this is people I've played. You do play these two, but it's so late in the game, you don't get a lot of time with them, and by the same token, you know them when you get them. So first up, Basilio. He is the Khan of this one area, or the West Khan or East Khan, one of the Khans. So there's a couple Khans. Khan! He's a warrior, much like, I think Vake can, when he powers up, he becomes a warrior. That's one of his options. I believe Basilio can use axes and arrows, which is handy, so you can have, ranged attacks or close attacks. He's pretty strong. He's a big, lovable oaf, is what the next character calls him, and he fits that to a T. Very gruff. I kind of like his personality, but again, you don't get much of it in the character interactions. You just get it through a couple chapters in the story, and then he pops up and you control him, and you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting this, but I guess I can control Basilio, and whatever. He's run of the mill. I barely use them. I'm going to put him at D just because he's okay, but like, I don't hate him enough to put him at the bottom, but I just don't know him enough. Same thing with the next character, Flavia. She's the East Con or the West Con or some other con. She reluctantly really likes and respects Basilio, even though she gives him shit a lot. And she's really tough, and you pick her up in the same chapter as Basilio, so you don't really know too much about her other than what you've seen in a couple chapters. And she's a hero. I think that's another path that Vake can take, is starting out with as an axe dude. I believe that's the technical term for what Vake starts as. Axe dude. Fighter is what it really is. Yeah, she's okay. I just don't get a lot with her, so I can't put her too high. I don't dislike her enough for bottom. I haven't used her enough or seen enough of her to put her any higher than D. So now I am going to look at my tiers here and see if anything looks out of place. And it looks great to me. On second thought, fuck it. I'm going with my first impression. And that's it. So we got A-level, Crom. Let's see if I can remember their names. Noe, Tharja, Lucina, and Severa. B+, your Avatar, Robin, how it starts, Gaius, and Cordelia. Level B, we got Frederick, Varian, Sumia, Lon Q, Anna, Brady, Morgan, and Noir. Right in the middle, C+, Lissa, Vake, Kellum, Rickon, Henry, and Owain. Right below that, C, we got Sully, Stahl, Gregor, Olivia, Cynthia, Yarne, Sayri, and Tiki. I'm not looking, I swear to God. Level D, we got Donald, Maribel, Libra, Churchy, Inigo, Basilio, and Flavia. And at the very bottom, the bottom of the barrel, Muriel, Panay, Shell, Jerome, Laurent, and Nah. Interesting. I've got 4 kids at the bottom. I think that does have a lot to do with, I just don't have a lot of time with them, but these ones suck anyway. And 2 dudes. Good. I was afraid through a lot of this. I was like, oh shit, am I just going to put a bunch of ladies down at the bottom? That'll look hateful. But no. And look at the top. 4 ladies at the top and in Crom. So I feel like I spread them out pretty well. And that's how I honestly feel about them going through it for the first time. I mean, this could change tomorrow. I could play the game and then it would probably definitely change if I played it again. I might play it again. I've played it like 5 or 6 times. What the hell? What's one more time? So that is it for me tiering Fire Emblem Awakening main playable characters. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. See ya.